Hey, hi guys, welcome all. So the topic which we have in our hand is AWS Route 53 tutorials. Before I start the topic, a brief introduction about me. So my name is Vikas and I work as a senior cloud architect in one of the big four companies here in Bangalore. I have good expertise on various cloud technologies like AWS, GCP, and Azure. I also have good knowledge on Python and DevOps tools like Ansible, Jenkins, and all those things. Now, we have the topic as Route 53. Now, why Route 53? Is there any reason behind it? So there's no particular reason behind Route 53 or naming Route 53 as Route 53 only. It was just a random number given. Yes, there are people who come up with their own ideas, but there is no conclusion to that. So when you talk about the agenda for today, we will be talking about what is Route 53, why do we need it, how does it work, what are its features, what are the routing policies you have, and finally we'll have a demo where we do a hands-on and we talk about the benefits of Route 53. So let's get started. So my way of learning is I should ask three questions. Whenever you tell me anything, I'll ask you three questions. What, why, how? If you get all the answers, yes, you understood what you were looking at. So let's start with the first question. What is AWS Route 53? So when I say AWS Route 53, it is a highly available, scalable DNS web service. Now the next question which should come in my mind is, what is a DNS web service? And what do you want me to show here? So let me just go back, take a step back and go and ask Google, what do you mean by DNS? Like every individual has a name, right? Every server has an IP address. Now, if I'm running a website and I say my website is running at 23.68.92.99, you'll say, what are these? What are numbers are these? Rather than that, I say my website is running at www.amazon.com. You will say, oh, fine, I will visit your website. So what we are trying to do is that in your browser, you don't type the IP address, you type a human readable domain name. But this domain name should be linked with some IP address or some server. So when you sit on your browser, you type the domain name www.amazon.com, google.com. But internally, there is a DNS server who will translate this human readable host name to a machine IP address. And then we go and get the response from that particular IP address. And this guy is known as DNS server or domain name server. When we talk about AWS, in the AWS world, this DNS work is done by Route 53. It is, let me come here. So here it says DNS or my AWS Route 53 is highly available. Means at no point of time you will say it is down or not responding. It is scalable in the sense if today 10 customers are there and tomorrow 100 came, so I should not be in trouble. So it is available and scalable and it's a DNS web service. And when I say DNS web service, I just not told you what do I mean by that. It gives the business and developers a cost-effective way to route the end users to internet applications by translating the domain name into the IP address. And this IP address is server IP address. So when I say www.amazon.com, I want to go to the website of Amazon or the web server of Amazon. So from there, I should get a response back. So DNS is web-based DNS service. So websites and all work on this. It is cost-effective comparing to other vendors who provide this service. Route 53 is comparatively less costly and you can integrate with multiple applications. So route end users to that particular application. Not only website, mobile apps and all can also be integrated here. It is simple. Like if you type an address on a web page, which you need. So let me say I've typed www.edureka.co.in. Now the request will first go to my Route 53, which will see that if you type edureka.co.in, what IP corresponds to that. And once the domain name is registered with Route 53, it will translate that domain name to the corresponding IP address and you get a response back. Think of a scenario where we don't have Route 53. So every time you will remember or you have to memorize those numbers. And if you don't memorize the numbers, you will not be able to reach that website. Today, if I don't know anything, I just go to Google and type, how is it able to find it? Because the domain name tells lot of things. So it has simple routing policy. It is highly available and scalable. It has geographic routing. So I will come in the coming slides when I talk about geographic routing, and it has latency based routing. So we will cover all these things one by one. Now, before we go into Route 53 and how it works, I will also try to showcase that entire thing again. This is my end user. He's sitting on a browser, types a domain name www.example.com. My DNS server goes and asks my Route 53 corresponding to this example.com, what is the IP address? And then you get the IP address of that. Then this IP address will finally go to my, with this IP address, I'll finally reach my web server where it is running. So if you come here, take a step back. So this is a client, web client. He's making an API call. So that API call is first hitting my load balancer, then going to my auto scaling group, and then going to my domain name server. Now, if you're not from an AWS background, you will ask, what are these? EC2, S3, load balancing. So these are the services, or these are the facilities or the features which is available in cloud. And using this, you can do a lot of things. So Route 53 is easily integratable with all these things. So when I say EC2, it is the compute component. When I say S3, it is the storage component. When I say ELB or elastic load balancing, it is the load balancing component. Why should you go with Edureka? There are so many contents available online. Why should you go with Edureka? Now, Edureka has a unique way of teaching, and there are trained professionals like me who have good expertise on these components. So we are subject matter experts, SMEs in this area. We share our first-hand experience with you. We tell you how and what the industry is expecting. When you want to switch your career, make a career movement, how and why you should do it, whether it will be useful for you or not. So those kind of things I will help you out. Second, if I made up my mind that I am going to change my career, I want to learn so and so, will it suit me or not? Or am I meant for it or not? Or what are the hardships which I have to face if I have to make it happen? So all these things can be discussed. I can give you the first-hand experience or the first-hand knowledge on all these things. In Edureka, the learning program has been drafted in such a manner that you will get the most out of it. So the best way to learn is to get your hands dirty. If you dip your hands in these items, you get your hands dirty, you do a lots of hands-on, you get to know more and more. So if you see here, we see that there are some 12 modules which we'll be covering, and each module is followed by a rigorous hands-on session. Now these hands-on sessions will give you in-depth knowledge of the elements which you are going to learn, which you have already learned are not theory based, but then you get a good hands-on. Once you get a good hands-on, you know how to integrate all these things together. You turn out to be a complete full-fledged DevOps engineer. Now, let's talk about Route 53. So this Route 53 guy is a DNS resolver. So that I know. Application recovery controller. So let me say there is application A and application B. So if my application A fails, I would want all the traffic should be pushed to application B. Because if somebody comes to application A, he will face 404 page not found. So I will try to do the application recovery controller. So meanwhile, when I'm debugging my application, all the traffic should go to the different machine. Traffic flow means the routing behavior. GeoDNS. Now GeoDNS is very important. You might have faced it. I will tell you one very good example of this. I stay in Bangalore, okay? When you open Google News or just browse through Google, it will show you mostly the news which is around you. But then for a vacation, I went to somewhere, let me say I went to Rajasthan. Now, when I was in Rajasthan, it was showing me all the local news which is there in Rajasthan. Why is it so? The common understanding here is that a person who is staying in Bangalore will be interested in the news which is in and around Bangalore. A person who is staying in Delhi, a person who is staying in Chennai, he'll be interested in the news which is in and around Chennai. So this way of operating is known as GeoDNS. Based on the geography, we give you the relevant items. One more you can try. If you are sitting in India and you try www.amazon.com, so .com relates to US, but then and there it will understand that the request is coming from India. Probably this guy is looking for .co.in and it will route you to .co.in. So this is some very common things which you see in your day-to-day life and you even don't know that's happening. Why is it happening? Now health checks and monitoring. So health check is very important. Suppose I have 5 servers which are running in parallel, one of them fails and a person keeps going there. What will happen? Every time he will go there, he will fail, he will face failure. I don't want my customers to suffer, so I will do health check. Anytime the server is down, I will just route the traffic to a nearest location. The last is domain name registration. So many a times when you're running a website, mostly for commercial purpose, you buy a domain name. So let me say you have opened a pizza shop. So you cannot go ahead and say that my pizza shop, or you order online from 10.33.29.63. You cannot do that. You will say order from www.pizza.com. So you have bought that .com or pizza.com domain name. So that also you can do it here. Going ahead, I'll show you all these things. Now, routing policies are very important. When you implement it on a production grade environment, these routing policies play a very important role. The routing policy can be singular, or the simplest one is simple routing policy, easy to use. What is simple routing policy? So it's a one-to-one mapping. www.pizza.com is mapped to 10.23.63.99. So every time you type, it will go there only. So it's a very simple one. Or you just say you have aliased it or you have renamed it. So rather than calling the server by 10.23.69.99, you're calling it by www.pizza.com. So if a person is sitting in Africa, US, India, for everyone, it will be the same. Obviously, for a production grade work, it is not good. For a school project kind of thing, yes, it is very good. Second one, which we see here is there is failover routing policy. So I have 2 servers which are running in parallel and all the request is going to this server, but or this server, the first one. But the moment this first server fails, all the requests will automatically be routed to second server, which is called failover routing policy. So the traffic will go to the second server only if the first one has failed. So this always stays as a backup. Third one, geographic routing policy, which just now I discussed, that if a person is typing from America, he will be routed to .com. If the person is typing the same thing from India, he will be routed to .co.in. Fourth one, geo proximity routing policy. Again, it is also very similar to your geo routing policy, the one which we saw some time back. Geolocation, based on your location. Here it is geo routing, geo proximity. So whichever server is close to you. Now, if I'm standing at Australia, Sydney. Now let me say India is also far, US is also far. There are only 2 servers. One is in India, one is in US. So it will automatically calculate which one is closer to me and it will take the data from that particular server only. So assuming that India is closer, it will take everything from India. It will get the same thing from US also, but the latency will be high. So it will not opt for that. And the last one here is, sorry, fifth one only, latency based routing policy. So there are 2 servers. One is in Singapore, the other one is India. Though Singapore is easily accessible or it is less or distance wise it is less, but still due to some problem, it is showing me higher latency. What should I do? Quickly go to India and get the data. Why? Because my end users should not keep waiting. The page is loading, buffering, buffering, buffering. It should not show like that. So I have put as latency based routing. If the latency on server A is high, quickly switch to server B. Whichever is giving you less latency, take the data from there. It can be close, it can be far. Now we talk about the demo. So in the demo, we can go log into our AWS console and we can register our domain name. Obviously, I'm not going to do that because it will charge me a good amount of money. I don't have that right now. And then I can show you how you can map all these things together. So let's go ahead and see how we work with Route 53. So to talk about Route 53, let me log into my console, my AWS account. Now, if you don't know where to find it out, just come here and say Route 53. You get scalable DNS domain name registration. Traffic flow, health check, hosted zone, all those things are present here. So here you can do a lot of things. You can do the traffic management, domain name registration, DNS name, monitoring. So let's start from here. Domain name. So if I go to domain name, I can register a domain name. Obviously, that's not free of cost. I will have to pay the amount of money. So I think this is annual charges. So if you buy something for .com, .net, .co.uk, .co, so there's a big range here. You can see .de, .band, .bargains, .berlin. So there's a big range here. There is nothing free of cost. So I don't think you'll get anything free of cost. But you see a big range, .fi, .flights. So there's a big range of IP addresses. Okay, so I'll stick to the common one, which is .com, and something which is already used by someone else. I will try to reuse that. Amazon. So Amazon is already present. Amazon.com. I want to check. Can I buy Amazon.com or not? It is already taken by someone else. So if you see, it says Amazon.com is not available, but these are the domain names which you can go for. For Amazon.com, am42on.com, amazonevents.com, amazonexpressjobs.com. So you can get all these things. Then let me say, okay, fine, amazon.com is not available. Let me try flipkart.com. Here also flipkart.com is not available. Cloud flipkart.com is available. Flipkart.link is available. Flipkart.ninja is available. And I have to pay some $18 per year to get it done. So it will be totally your choice. If you want to go ahead, you can buy it and then you can start using it. Suppose you have bought something, but how to use it? So again, go back to your Route 53. So I'm assuming that you have a domain name, you have already registered. Now you come here to this DNS management, create a hosted zone. So I will go ahead and say, what is your domain name? So don't give www, that is understood. My domain name is, let me say, example.com. I have not bought it. I have not spent any money, but just to show you, I'm giving it to you. So amazon.com or example.com. Now, if you have bought this domain name from .com, you can use public hosted zone. Means outside AWS also I will use it, but it is for my internal usage. So I'll say private hosted zone. Private hosted zone is within AWS only it will work, and within this region only it will work. So I will go ahead and say I am in US East 1. So I will say North Virginia, and I will put it in the default VPC. That's it. You can go ahead and create a hosted zone. If you're creating something which is publicly available or should be publicly available, you can go ahead and say create hosted zone. So it is throughout present. So it says invalid domain name because invalid domain, this domain name you want to route traffic. Example.net. Try this. Okay. So for me, it has created this www.example.net. Now I have to map it to my IP address. Now suppose you want this to be mapped, so you can come down here. Okay. So let me just come here. Simple. Okay. So let me do one thing. You can come here and say create a record, and you can see that if I refer to a website 192.67. I'm just giving some random IP addresses. Okay, if somebody is asking for subdomain name. So example.net is my main domain name. Okay, subdomain name I'll not give. So I'm simply saying if there's somebody on the URL says www.example.com, okay, somebody says example.com, you route him to this particular IP address. What is the record type? So I will say it is IPv4 address. Okay, some AWS resource IPv4 address. Then till what time it should be alive, because you are trying to reach a web server. So within 300 seconds, it should be able to respond. If not, then it is gone. Here you can choose the routing policy, the routing policies which we just now discussed: simple, weighted, geographic, latency, or whatever. I'll keep it as simple and I will create it. So if you own this domain name, okay, if you own this domain name www.example.com, it should route you to this location. But I don't own it, so it will not route me. It will give me some other thing. So this is how you mask it, or this is how you go ahead and alias it. And once your work is done, you can simply come here and say delete this zone, because it is not covered under free tier. So once your work is done, I would request you to go ahead and delete it. Once it is deleted, it's saying before deleting, you delete this guy, delete the record. Once the record is to be deleted, the one which we inserted, and after that, we can go ahead and delete this Route 53, which will come here, posted zone here, and delete it. Now this is something which I always do. I do create something. If I don't need it, I go ahead and delete it. So this you can do health check, hosted zone, traffic policies, policy records. You can register the domain name, and it's a DNS name resolver for you. Coming back to the slides which we were discussing, what are the benefits? So I saw that there is a requirement for this guy. I need it because I can't remember the numbers. So I see it is highly available and scalable. It is flexible. It is cost effective, like $12. I get all the features, and it is scalable and secure. So keeping these features in mind, I should or I must be using Route 53 as a DNS in AWS environment. One very important question which many a times I receive is, suppose I already have a domain name. Suppose I bought a domain name from godaddy.com. Can I use it? Yes, you can use it. So there are provisions like you want to put it here, something which you have not bought from Amazon, but bought somewhere outside. So that thing is also allowed here. So we say that is BYOL, bring your own license. So it does not make sense, right? If I've already bought it, and then today I bought it 10 years back, now I'm trying to migrate to AWS cloud. So cloud should not say that you again buy it from me. Something which I already have, why should I buy it again? So we did a hands-on here, and we saw how to get started, how to learn this particular item, which is Route 53. So I will assume that you understood everything and you are doing good now. Fine. See you then, guys. Stay safe. Happy learning.